Wow, so many people. Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
So, good afternoon, everyone. So, Happy New Year. So, today we have a very special guest who is the most hot person and most hot project in the cryptos in these days. So, how are you? Is it great?
Oh, I'm well. Thank you all. And thanks for being here. And it's my first time in Korea, but it's been a lot of fun, great food, great times.
Okay. So I think many people in here know Shou, but I could introduce him very briefly. Shou is a founder of AI16Z DAO and also the maintainer and founder of the Elijah OS. So could you describe your project very briefly to the attendees?
Yeah. So Elijah OS is an open source agent framework. I've been working on that for about a year in this incarnation, although a lot longer kind of to get there with different, experimenting with agents. I think what's special about it is that it's open source. It's an open project. We're building with everybody. We don't we're not holding anything back. We're sharing everything we build. And on top of that, we've been working on this autonomous investor or autonomous trader and investor kind of project, which is the AI Mark Andreessen thing, with the goal of collective intelligence and leveraging the community to actually gain alpha and use that to make money, ideally. And obviously, in doing that, other people realized they could use our agent framework for lots of other things. So now we have this whole crazy ecosystem, and oh my God, it's going so fast. Yeah,
very fast. So how did you get started with AI16Z and Elijah OS? Because if I remember correctly, AI16Z came first, and after that, the Elijah OS will release, right?
No, actually, Elijah was on just an open source framework I've been working on for a long time, and it was always open source. But I just think that people didn't realize what the value proposition was, especially Web2 people were kind of sleeping and not really paying attention. And when Truth Terminal came out, and I think and the degens kind of discovered that. They started saying I want this, and we had it all ready to go. I mean, I was working all night, every night, pushing on this framework for a very long time, trying to make this happen.
Okay, so it started with the Truth Terminal, and why did you select the DAO fund to launch your token?
Okay, so the way this all went down was I'm not a good trader. And I'm like, don't follow me. You will lose money. But I was talking to my friend Salary, and he's saying, I basically said, hey, can I just give you money and trade for me? And he's like, no, dude, no. So he said, but there's this thing called DAOs.fund, and you check it out. It's kind of what you want. And I said, okay, cool. It's like a hedge fund. And the first hedge fund was managed by this guy Skelly. And so Skelly and I just started chatting. I bought into his hedge fund, and we started chatting, and we ended up launching Degen Spartan together. And then he said, you should go meet Bowski, who created DAOs.fund. He happened to just live 2 blocks away from me in San Francisco, just this small world thing. And we got lunch, and I was just telling him my dream, which is I really want I want my community to be able to invest together. I want them to be able to do that without getting rugged, getting scammed. I really want to also grow the pie, not just gambling, not just money back and forth on this meme coin or that, but actually identifying projects we can invest in, and kind of the way a startup investment works. Venture capital finds talent, finds valuable opportunities, puts money into them, helps them blow up. And I said I want there's A16Z, which is kind of the most famous of the investors in Silicon Valley. I want that, but with AI. I want it to be fully automated. And he was like, just make it AI16Z. And I was like, that's the one. And I must have laughed for 2 minutes straight. I was like, okay, we got to go home and do that right now, or someone else is going to do it first.
Yeah. So
that's how
AI-driven investment DAO, right?
Yeah.
The A16Z. But we are also the investor, a very famous crypto VC, but investment is not very easy, very complicated, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it working right now as the investment? because as an investor, you have to exit and liquidate your token, mm-hmm. and have to buy a new one. So how to work it as an AI right now?
Right. So it's kind of two things. There's really trading and investing, and they're not the same. And we're actually focusing on both. But they're definitely very distinct models. So for the autonomous trading, That's like, buying tokens. I mean, this is more like a liquid fund, right? You're buying and selling tokens. So what we decided to do was, I don't think that LLMs are very good at making like investment decisions. Like, I would not recommend just putting ChatGPT on telling you what to buy. That's probably gonna lose money. But you know who are all the degens and all these alpha chats. Like, this is all they do all day. And so if we could actually leverage their intelligence and extract like the insights that they have and use that as the signal, then we could make pretty good investments. And so the idea with the community investor there is, we have a small alpha, like a first version of this with a very, very private group, about 20 people, but we'll be opening this up to a lot more people than to all our partners, and then we'll just be open sourcing and giving it to everybody once we feel confident. But the idea is that we can look at what they're shilling and say like, okay, if you were shilling me tokens and I actually bought all of them, would I have made money? And I think a lot of the, it's kind of in this KOL world where people like delete all the tweets for the things that didn't do so well, and then they celebrate the ones that did. But we're keeping track, right? And so we're looking at first just like a closed social graph, like a Telegram group and a Discord group, and saying, okay, who of these people is actually good at this? And let's just take like the real far right curve, the people who are really, really smart on this, and let's use them as signal for actually making real investments. And so we call this the marketplace of trust. And the idea of the marketplace of trust is, out of 100 people, I could probably trust like 3 people to actually make me money consistently. They're 70-80% of their picks are pretty good, and because they're in all these chats, they're paying attention, they really get it, and maybe they're also people who can move the market themselves by getting the right people to kind of promote the thing. So that was the first part, is the autonomous trader, is like identifying the signal from humans, extracting that out of the chat and turning that into buy and sell signal. So the agent doesn't care. It doesn't know it. It has a treasury. If you said, hey, sell that token, it'll sell it. We also connect that to a lot of like boring DeFi stuff. Like once it buys, it puts it into a trade strategy. We're working with a company called Sonar.trade. And that's all like trading strategy. And then we're just listening for buy and sell events, and we kind of take their strategy. And then we're also like, if people give me a token that's like almost the same name as a token we have, we just like dump that automatically and like basically do kind of like automatic treasury management. So that's like the first part. That's all pretty much in the bag. We have a leaderboard. It's online, but you'd have to go find it. And we'll be like making that public. And we're actually working on a research paper right now called The Marketplace of Trust. We have like 6 PhDs working on this paper. The goal there is to like solve all the kind of problems we see of like it could be prone to Sybil attack, for example, unless we stake. We don't really want to have staking, because you really want to also be a thing where like even if you were like an unknown person who had no followers, totally anon, you could come in and you could actually make money by giving it picks, and then it'll give you a cut of the return. And we haven't implemented that part yet. It's just like the social incentive, but we're working on the financial incentive now, so that we can actually grow our community by encouraging traders to come hang out and actually build. And it's kind of like a nice flywheel. Then the second part of that is the investing, right? How do we actually invest? And so if you look like the DAO has been showing off this new TV news show we've been working on, but the other thing we're working on is like a Shark Tank. So like AI Mark Cuban kind of thing, and we'll actually let companies come and pitch their product. And the goal, it's totally a meme kind of shitpost, silly thing, but it actually brings attention to a lot of projects that are really struggle with attention. There's a lot of great infrastructure, a lot of great ways to make money in crypto, but a lot of people don't even know that exists. And so we have attention. We can pre-validate a lot of ideas by like having people pitch kind of into like these 3D agents that are, going to yap and say, say whatever they're going to say. Yes, yeah, I'll buy, or they won't buy. Ultimately take like what our partners are saying and what's happening on that experience, and make our own investment decisions, like cut 50K checks. But then we have a lot of venture partners around us who also want to invest, and we have an ecosystem fund we're putting together. And so that gives like a nice kind of deal flow. So we can pre-validate the idea, blow it up a little bit on social media, and then be the first check in. So like that's really what the investment angle is.
I hope to ask more deeply, but we only have a unlimited time, so we have only limited time.
I could talk about this for 20 minutes easily.
So let's talk about the Elijah OS. So you guys are rebranding the Elijah to Elijah OS. Might be January 1st, right?
We've done most of this rebrand. Yeah.
So what is your like most important aspect you developing AI agent as open source? What is your most important part to developing this? And what is your like? What do you think the main driving force to like 200 contributors?
I think that a lot of people were looking like just are actually getting value out of the code, and we unlike a lot of other agent frameworks that have come before, we really solved like within 5 minutes you can just get this thing going and launch an agent and have it on Twitter, and it solves like the social connectors. I really think LLMs are like the brain, and there's the biggest companies in the world are going really hard with that, making it, obviously going as fast as they can. And I think what we're building is like the body, right? So if you have a brain in a jar, it's not gonna be able to do much. But if you could give it like a whole body, it can like walk around. And so that's connectors to social. That's like we're working on kind of hardware play, and I can tell you that there's going to be a robot announced pretty soon. It's going to be kind of nuts. And I think so. I think a lot of people are using it for games. A lot of people are using it for interfaces, different. And the other thing I think that's really hot is like the idea of like DeFi is obviously DeFi is like a good way to make money, but a lot of people don't understand how it works. And so like something like Eliza sitting there and basically like being the interface that explains these really high, big brain sort of ideas to people who just want to like press a button and make money. I think that's going to be a killer use case. We see a lot of that.
So many teams are making body, right? The LLM models and agent open source. So what do you think they differ from Elijah and other agents?
I think that one, we built it with web technology. So if you're somebody who's making dApps or making websites, you can just come in here and use this as your interface. The other thing is that we solved the social loop. So I think I had actually written the Twitter client that we have, and it uses the same GraphQL endpoints as any other client. So you can just treat it like any other user on Twitter. And that means like make a Twitter account, put it in the username and password. You don't even have to get an API key or anything. And that was probably the big win for a lot of people, is like, oh, I download this and it already goes to all these social places. And it's just like entirely batteries included. It also supports like every chain now for people who like, want to do blockchain. But it's also agnostic. You don't have to use it any chain on it. And I think the AI agent stuff is very valuable to like every other vertical in crypto, especially.
That's right. So these days, many chains and many framework right now. So I think as one very question is that many AI agents are launching their own token, and framework also launching their token. So do you think it is very necessary to launching their token as an AI agent?
No, but it gives you a way to like crowdfund your project and bring in a lot of early supporters. So it's like a great way to market your project. Like, if you have 5,000 people shilling your token, and they're also kind of shilling your whole project, and that's bringing a lot of visibility to it. And also a lot of dev teams, like your options are either to go raise money and slowly, build quietly, or just be like, yeah, we're doing this. Let's go. Here's a way to invest in us immediately. And so I think it's allowing like a much faster cycle of development and investment and kind of marketing while you go.
Yeah, so it's very good to start as a marketing, but we have to give them as a utility, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is your plan for the token AI16Z's token? I heard that you guys are planning to make Launchpad and planning to like extend many things. So could you share some?
Yeah, we're doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like for us, the token is the product. Anything else that we're doing is like, how do we do value accrual for the token? Because that obviously then brings more people in, gets everybody really hyped. And helps us to kind of grow our ecosystem even faster. And then if the token goes up, we also then have resources to go and invest back into things that will make the token go faster. So we're doing things like partnerships with companies that we think will help us to do value accrual. Some of that's partnerships, some of that's investment. We actually are doing some of the investment stuff with our ecosystem fund or just directly. And then so we are launching a Launchpad. The Launchpad has a tokenomics which lets people deploy a token, and then it kind of pairs to our token. So there's a lot of like we are providing liquidity, and it's kind of like some of the virtual stuff. They've done a really good job of presenting this tokenomics model. But then also things like working with companies to do like liquidity pooling and DeFi stuff, where we can kind of win-win, do revenue share. We're also making some investments in some other like agent technology and platforms and things. We're not going to do an L1, but we're probably going to invest in some L1s. That's kind of our play. That'll probably get announced pretty soon. And then we also have like a whole media arm that's like creating content for some of the other agent projects. And also we're serving a lot of like kind of more like service stuff, like people who want a really good agent but don't have the resources internally. They're coming to us, and we're kind of like supporting them, and then using any of the revenue from all that stuff to buy back our token, reinvest it into things that hopefully make us more money and more token, reinvest it. I don't really like. I want to try to avoid burning as much as possible, and just like take it and use it as a reinvestment tool to grow the ecosystem.
So how many team members and partners right now?
Oh God, it's just growing so fast. I mean, a lot more this week than last week. Yeah, we started. It started just like kind of when we started Degen Spartan. It was just me and Skelly. Skelly brought some people in. Some of our other kind of friends joined up. We launched AI16Z, which was a few weeks later. We, it was just like 4 or 5 of us. Then a bunch of people kind of showed up. And I really had not met anybody before this. I mean, like literally everybody just coming out of the woodwork from the community. I had one friend, Jin, who's like an Anon who I'd known for a long time, who's been really crucial, but I've never even met him. We just like known him from Discord for a long time. Now I think we got like 40, 50 people on payroll, and we're expanding, pulling in a lot more devs. If you look at, I'm like hiring an HR person right now, and so it's like at that point where we have a lot. Yeah, I'd say about 50 people, and it's gonna keep growing. A lot of people want to work with us.
So do you have any end goal for the team? Like how what is your like last goal for the AI16Z and at least OS?
I think everybody in the world should be on our team now. I mean, I'd like to grow as much as possible, as much as we need to. I think that because of the nature of our thing, we have like a team working on the open source, a team working on the new version of the open source stuff that's like, so we can continue to maintain velocity, but also do like the research and experimentation of like getting the next version going so that we don't get kind of bogged down in tech debt. We've got our service team, we've got our like ecosystem fund, we've got a team just doing media and content, like kind of a studios, and across the board, I think it'll quickly be like a few hundred people. I mean, like by the within the next few months for sure. So I'd like to grow it as big as possible. Yeah.
So we only have a 3-minute left.
Wow.
So
you got through that quick.
Really quick. So you are currently on Asia tour, right? Asia tour.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you feel any opportunity in Asia and like any insight from Asia tour?
Oh yeah, I mean we haven't even done an American tour yet. Like we just came right over here. I think that the sense that I got early on was that there was an enormous amount of enthusiasm, and a lot of our development team and people who are helping us and people coming to moderate the channels and stuff were from obviously like China, Korea, Japan, and a lot of other countries where we haven't visited yet, but they want to go to. And I think there's just an incredible amount of excitement. And I'd say at least half of the people that are on our project are from here. So we really wanted to try and do something different. I think a lot of American like AI companies get stuck in a bubble of San Francisco and basically just make products for like the VC parties that they go to, and aren't even really appealing to the whole, like to our whole country, let alone like the whole world. We wanted to really do something different. So this is like an international thing. This is a movement. We're not gonna try to own this. We're gonna let this be like a lot bigger than us. Let the ecosystem build all the things that we want to see. I have a lot of ideas. I try to just put them on Twitter, let other people run with them. And so yeah, coming here has been, I think, really good for us to like just meet people and let them know I'm not a scammer. I'm like a real human. And just I think it's like obviously this is a huge part. I would say for any founder who's not from Asia, they should definitely come and meet everybody and plant a flag here and kind of build their movement here.
It is a really minor question that some of people are very good at developing, so it is easy to contribute as a contributor on GitHub, but many attendees in here is not developer. So how to contribute as a non-developer?
There's a lot of ways to come join our community. We're also working on a thing of retroactive funding, and we'll be doing this continuously, looking at who's actually helping each other, who's like running the community, who's doing the work groups, and then also who is developing on GitHub and trying to support and like kind of use some of our token to go and incentivize that so that it kind of just runs itself without a whole lot of coordination. We definitely need anybody who's like, I want to do a thing. If you want to launch an NFT project or you want to just do it, like just go. Like you can just do things. You can build with us. You can build on us. You can build around us. And we'll try and be supportive of everything that's kind of in our ecosystem. If people aren't comfortable like launching their own agent or building, there are a lot of like hosted platforms. Also, once we like get the open up our autonomous trading stuff to everybody, then people can just come and shill alpha and probably make money doing that. I think there'll be a lot of different opportunities, and just tell your friends, like buy in, do research, and also if you're not a developer, like I teach AI Agent Dev School, and we'll be it's like my pinned tweet. You can come and you can learn how to do this from scratch. If you've never written code in your life, you can do this now.
That's why you're streaming all the Twitter streaming, right?
Yeah, and when I get home, I'll try and do some more of that too.
Yeah. So it's time is up. So thanks for a great talk, and let's move on to the Q&A session directly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me take over the mic. 여기 앉아 계시고. 질문 있으시면 이제 네, 스티븐님 마이크가 저희가 혹시 마이크가 하나 더 없죠? 제가 마이크를 지금 전달드리겠습니다.
First of all, Sean, welcome to Korea.
Thank you.
And my name is Steve from Neoclassic. We are a VC firm based out of Miami. Two questions. So I think the moderator asked you a similar question, but my question is, all the things that you use AI, the part that you use AI to make a good investment decision, aren't they new, or is it already exists in a lot of quant fund out there who using LLM and machine learning to pull the signal from many different sources? What's the differentiation of yours, if there is? So second question is, AI16Z is, I assume that it's a VC firm, but based on what I hear, your investment is mainly around liquid tokens rather than you talk with the startup founders to Notion page due diligence, etc. More is about making a trade, making an investment on liquid token. So what's your because you mentioned your motivation is invest together with the community. That was kind of primary motivation for you to start this. If that's so, I think those community member, what they want is best performance. I don't think they just give the money to the AI16 just to be participated. So then how you measure the performance, if you have measured performance as of today, how they are doing?
Right. I'll answer the first question. So I'm pretty skeptical of like LLMs directly being able to take signal from an analysis and make trades on that. If the market's doing well, you're probably going to do fairly well. But I really think that what we're doing that's unique is this marketplace of trust model where we're leveraging collective intelligence. We're actually not using the LLM to make buys at all. What we're doing is using the LLM to extract data from chats, like where people are already like, an alpha chat that you're probably in or a whale chat, and people are like, yeah, I'm buying this. We kind of extract like sentiment and conviction. Like sentiment is like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely like, a high conviction would be like, you got to buy this right now. You got to buy Go. And then a low conviction would be like, I mean, I bought some, but you probably don't want it. It might be a scam. And then a negative sentiment would be like, yeah, I don't know. I like, you shouldn't buy this. It is a scam, right? That would be like kind of and then we estimate that. We make virtual trades. We identify the people who, if we take them at face value, would make us money. And we use that to, we use their signal as our buy signal, essentially. So we are not using the LLM to make investment decisions. I think that the LLMs are probably not quite there yet, but they're really good at extracting unstructured data and turning it into like structured calls, like an actual contract interaction. So that we're releasing a paper on this. It's be open source. We kind of have a in progress version of this. We've if you come to our Discord, it's like there's a work group working on it. And then let's see the second question. Oh my God.
Token trade.
Right. So right now, like the thing that we have with the DAOs.fun is autonomous trading, right? And that's using that signal to trade the treasury. But what we're doing for investment is more this like media hype angle of like more like a Shark Tank, where people are coming, we're investing, we're asking them questions, having the AI kind of ask them questions about their project, their pitching, and then if we make a decision to buy, like our agent will make buy, sell decisions, but they're pretty small checks, like a 50K check. So we're not like draining our treasury on this stuff, but it's kind of giving them an opportunity. If the agent looks at like our partner conversation, they answer the questions well, it'll be like, okay, cool. Given this, I will buy, or given this I will not buy. But it's kind of giving them like a media platform to promote their project. And then we are making real investments from there, which are, you know, relatively small checks, but because of the nature of our thing, we get in early and we kind of, you know, help them to blow it up. And we have an ecosystem fund. We have a lot of venture partners. If you have a VC, like please, you know, hit me up and we'll connect you with our ecosystem fund to then go and make investments into our ecosystem around us. Does that make answer the question?
Yeah, I think I have the second question. So first, congratulations. So as someone who's been balls deep into AI16Z since like 100 million, feeling really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've had a ton of people like from Caladan, 1KX, Spartan, like tell me like I have to speak to you. So actually, I think Melody connected us, and we have a call next week. My name is John from Kaya Chain.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So two-pronged question for you, and this is something that I've actually asked a lot of people, and I've never actually really received a straight answer. First part is this. So we have the big four frameworks right now, the crypto-oriented frameworks. We have Eliza OS, obviously, and then you have Zerobros, you have Arc, and you also have, what's the third one?
Dolian?
Not Dolian. The Game from Virtuals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
right.
Game from Virtuals, Zerobros, Arc, and Eliza OS. So in that kind of like playing field, what do you see AI16Z's competitiveness as? That's kind of like the first part of the question. The second part is to kind of like from a more macro perspective, you have like Anthropic and OpenAI, you know, releasing their own agentic like frameworks. How do you see the competitiveness of like crypto-oriented frameworks to like the more traditional quote unquote Web 2 frameworks?
Sure. So the first part, like when ZeroPi launched, I actually tried to make one of the first contributions. I added a Discord client. I'm pretty supportive of anybody who's doing open source stuff. I think there's a lot of reasons why we're different. There's like a fairly minimal Python framework. It's a lot easier to read through all of the code in one sitting, and there's some value to that if you're trying to make something that like fits within that paradigm. And I support them. We did a partnership with them, and you know, and try to like support anybody who's going to kind of follow this thesis with us. I think Arc is really cool. I think Rust is like a really interesting like for embedded systems, for like Department of Defense stuff. They generally want to build stuff in Rust now, but they don't really have any social connectors yet. I think partially because there just doesn't exist in Rust, so they have to like build a lot more of the ecosystem around it. I think I actually built a no-code platform with another like Project 89 as their founder is Parzival. We were founders together. We built a no-code platform called Magic, and I just learned that I don't think that no-code is going to fit. I think I haven't really played with Game too much, but in kind of looking at it, I'm pretty skeptical that it's going to fit either the developers who just want to like code, especially now we have Cursor and all this stuff integrated, and like coding is much easier, or the people who just want kind of a really truly no-code thing. I think that people tend to fall into like just wanting to. I think it doesn't really serve either side. I'd imagine that they'll probably just open source pretty soon, just in response to the market. And then, what was the fourth one?
Yeah, I mean, so
yeah, I guess those are them. Yeah.
Zerobros.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at their what they're doing, I think you'll see it's quite different than our thing. Our thing is much more expansive. We have a lot of developer velocity. We're supporting a lot of different projects and enabling that in our ecosystem. We have like 100 open pull requests. When we merge that in, we'll have about 300 individual contributors. Plus, we have a fairly large team. And I think they kind of responded in open source after seeing sort of how we did it. But we have a lot of first mover advantage. I mean, a lot of people building on this, and so I'd say in this day and age, code is pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to write code. It's much more about mind share and having a community that's fairly large. So you can just track like how much stuff is going in, and I think it's pretty obvious where the velocity is going, you know. And we're going faster, not slower. It's faster than it's ever gone before. A lot more people working on it than ever before. And so I wouldn't say I don't see any of these as competition. I think they each kind of have their niche. But the main thing is that I really thought about where to build this and why, and we made like abstractions that are really easy for people to just add, like context provider, which is like just any kind of input you need is really easy to get in. And then to add actions to the agent to do is really like call any API is a really easy thing to just like add one thing to, add one file and you've got that action. We try to really make that loop super easy. We're also appealing to web developers. It's a web developer framework. It uses TypeScript. Anyone who's like launched Forge or and done EVM stuff or has built a DApp is probably already familiar with everything they need to know. The barrier to entry is very, very low. I think that's a lot of why we're seeing so much adoption. It's because it's actually enabling web developers to access AI. And I really see this not as like an agent framework, but as a way to change the way the web works. This is like the new interface to bring your application that might have been on a website onto social media. I think autonomous agents is really interesting, kind of mid-future meta. But I think the near future is like just take what you already have on your website and bring it onto social and use these agents as like a way to show the user the value proposition of your product, and to get users kind of in your user loop and hooked before and it, like understanding what your product is, so they don't have to like come to your website, read all the copy on the lander. I just think that it's like so much infra already exists and nobody knows it exists, and that's like the biggest problem I see in Web3 today. And I think that's a lot of why we've had so much adoption. If that makes sense. In terms of things like OpenAI, I don't take their agent projects seriously. It's all research garbage. Like, I hate to say it, but it's just like, come on, none of it's productized, none of it does what we want, and they're all afraid of. They have no balls. I'll say that. You're never going to see a Siri that can post on Twitter. That's for sure. You're never going to see an OpenAI project that can without heavy modification. And they're really focused on benchmarks and showing agents interacting with each other. They're not doing things like putting agents into rooms with 100 people and seeing if they actually can do that without being annoying, or putting them on like an open social network. So I don't think they have a chance. I mean, we have way more developers working on this than OpenAI or Microsoft. We have way more velocity than any of their agent frameworks. I wouldn't even take them seriously, frankly.
Sorry to hog, but just on that note, so is your ultimate kind of like goal and objective is to like just kind of like expand yourself out to that area as well? Because again, Anthropic and OpenAI, regardless of what you think, they have been working on agentic frameworks for a while, right? So I mean, do you consider them competitors? I mean, is that like a space that you want to like enter?
I think that I think that they're like very geared around doing models, and they are the best in the world at doing models, doing data collection, doing like training, post-training, all that stuff. Like, they are obviously doing the hard research of building the brain. I think that there's a lot of incentives against them to do anything like what we're doing with the body side of this, with embodiment. They're never going to release connectors for social media, for example. They're never going to release I think the kinds of like we really want to like enable waifus, enable this kinds of more edgy use cases, and they're like very much staying away from all of that. I think they're just way too safety oriented, and we're just like accelerate everything as quickly as possible. And I mean, OpenAI with all their with all their resources is not trending #1 on GitHub right now, and there's a reason for that. I think that we're giving people what they actually want instead of this like kind of safe version of what fits inside of a nice paper. And so like I just don't see how they compete on that end. I think that they'll continue to be model providers, and that's where they're really good. But on the agent framework side, like they're just not giving us what we want. Yeah.
네. 마이크 혹시 전달 뒤에서 받아주시면 감사하겠습니다.
Hi, thank you very much. And also, I'm Kevin from Hash Open Research. And I'm really curious about your perspective on your position as currently as you have a first mover advantage, I was told, especially in the crypto field. So and I think what Eliza and AI16Z in general is doing compared to OpenAI is creating more touch points with humanity in general. You're currently open within X, and also you are currently doing like a media session, also a media like an AI-based media generation. Also, you said you're also replacing a lot of functions such as investing. So one of my questions is, what kind of functions of humanity, such as it can be games or media or or robots, as you've mentioned. I'm really curious about what kind of functions are you targeting in the near future, and what kind of functions do you think that will be quite difficult to handle in the near future, but is a possibility and has quite of a discrepancy currently that can be leveraged by the open network? Yes.
Oh, that's a couple of good questions. Did I kill this? Okay. Yeah, I think games are really obvious to me. I actually started as I have a long background in game development, experience development. I was a Unity developer for a really long time, and then got into like WebGL and 3JS. I really kind of like in building this was thinking through that lens of like, okay, what do agents need to get context about the world, and then how do they actually go out and like react to that and do stuff. There's several games that are being built. Small World, which is kind of blowing up right now, and the prototype for that's almost done. I actually started working on that, and then like hired a team to kind of flesh that out. And I think that's a great example of a new kind of game you just couldn't make before. You can talk to your little agent and tell it to do stuff, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's kind of like a weird parenting thing, and the entire thing is emergent gameplay from LLMs. There's another game, Loaf, who's one of our big contributors. He's got a game called Eternum, like on the Loot Realms. It's like the Starkware ecosystem, and he's working on a whole like system so that it can chain on-chain actions together and basically be a player in the game. And he's giving them wallets. I think it's a kind of a new play to earn mechanic here. Instead of like just giving people tokens for playing, make them go get them. Like put agents out there that have money in their wallets and make them go kill them or whatever. I think that's kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of different like games and game-like experiences that are happening. That's very obvious. I definitely think I would say that DeFi is one of the killer apps of agents. And really it's actually a larger thesis of like anything that's kind of big brain and sort of too complicated for people to immediately understand, or like an app that has to have tons and tons of buttons. You can really move that over to like an agentic interface, or just even like an LLM sort of interface. And the benefit there is when people have questions, you can provide the knowledge right there, as opposed to making them go to like a help menu or whatever. I think the UI is starting to get in the way, especially of more complex applications where, you know, you open like a trading app like any of your CEX apps, and you're just like, oh my god, there's a lot of buttons and a lot of menus, and a lot of that I think could be replaced just by like by users being able to ask and for what they want. I think there's a lot of value in anything where we're bringing the product onto social media where people are. I think like Rickbot is a good example. You know, Rickbot is like a bot that a lot of people use for trading and keeping their Telegram. There's other bots like that. But the idea is that like it's not necessarily a better user experience than like the ideal app that's custom made for that, but it's already where we are. So it's just like super convenient. So anything that makes like a loop more convenient is, I think, super valuable. And I think, so the second part of your question, like things that are hard, I think like obviously taking payments on Twitter is really hard. I'd love to see good solutions for that, for agents that can like kind of securely like do the whole user loop of selling somebody a thing and taking payment for it. I think it's going to require some. There's definitely a startup in there that could leverage that little pain point. I think there's a lot of. Of anything like I love to see wallets be agentic, but I think that to actually make like complex multi-chain trades is probably something that it's going to take a little bit of like beta testing, data collection, you know, one bad swap and it's going to be a real PR crisis. So where I see AI as being useful is actually just like taking the risks we see in wallets and trying to prevent them, like people pressing on scams or doing things that might not be in their best interest, trying to detect that, ask the user, provide knowledge. And I think there's just a lot of products that are just too complex. And so like giving them a way to get knowledge right there is, I think, valuable. You know? Yeah.
네. 이쪽으로 마이크 주시겠어요?
Yeah, finally. Hello, Sean. This is YK. I can testify that the framework is very easy to use because I'm not a serious developer. I code for fun, but I was able to fork Eliza and just have my custom personality live on Twitter within a couple of hours yesterday. So
Great.
It was really interesting, and I love your tutorial, by the way. So thanks for that. Anyways, as a user of the framework, I'm really curious. I mean, you have a much bigger team now. I'm sure that there are many exciting updates coming up. I've seen some of them on your Twitter, but what are some of the feature updates or like integrations of the framework that you're most excited of in the foreseeable future?
Well, I think that kind of been that at two things. I think I like to see a lot more capability. I think that we have people who are working on much better memory systems so that it can do a lot more complex memory. Right now, we just kind of like vector search memory, which is pretty standard RAG. But we have a pull request in for for GraphRag and graph memory, and then a couple of people working on much more advanced memory systems. I think that's one thing that'll add a lot of capability, and it'll make it feel a lot more like it really knows you. And I think we're continuing to push on V1. We're adding a lot more connectors. So like a connector to like you can call the agent, you can text it. It's Twilio integration, and all the other social connectors and kind of stuff there, like Reddit. I think it'll be very powerful for. I think a good paradigm I want to see is not just agents that reply guy, but that actually find exactly the tweets or posts they should reply to and like be knowledge providers. So if someone's like, well, how do I do liquidity pooling? It's like, oh, hold on, I got you, and there's an agent right there ready to do that and then like onboard you onto that product. I think that's like an extremely valuable thing. That's like provide knowledge just to the people who are actually seeking it. You can imagine like a lot of Reddit posts or people asking questions. And if the right agents with the right products were actually just hitting the ones that were relevant, that could be like a big push. So adding those connectors and like refining the functionality, making them a little less annoying, I think would be huge. I want to see us get out of this kind of slot bot, reply bot thing and into like actual products that people want, and then using that for discovery of like who are the people who want this, find them, interact with them, onboard them onto your product. I think that's going to be huge. I also should mention like most of our team is working on the version 1, which is just like keep velocity up, get everything in there, keep adding functionality. But we're also working on a version 2. That's gonna we're actually gonna offload a lot of our like on-chain stuff to Goat, which is Crossmint's great on-chain toolkit. I think that's really cool. We're working pretty deep with that team. We're working really deeply with Fala and on the TE infrastructure, so that like out of the box, every agent is just running in TE. We have like so it's feeling more like a collaboration of different groups in the industry, and not just our thing. And I think that we're also V2 is really solving the problems we have with V1, which is like a lot of tech debt, a lot of stuff is going in, and now it's getting kind of like a lot of plugins. We're moving all that stuff out, building a plugin registry, building a CLI tool so you can just like install and manage from your command line if you're a programmer, and you don't have to like carry so much tech debt and weight with you, and just like kind of smoothing out a lot of the rough edges. So we have a really cracked team working on the V2. But if you're a developer, keep contributing to V1. It's going to be a few months. It takes. We really want to do it right, and we're not trying to revolutionize or change everything too much. We're just trying to address the pain points and sort of streamline it all from V1. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right. So before we move on to the next question, we still have ample time. Just wanted to make a quick note. As Shah mentioned, we have global attendance from all around the world, such as team from Fala, as Shah mentioned. So we will have a network there, Fala network right there. So really interesting partners you can make, friends we can make here. So we will have a network section in about 20 minutes. So I just wanted to make a quick note. Now after the next question would be from the back to the brown.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hi, so.
Yeah, I'm developing on-chain ELIJA agent with my on-chain inscription method, and I'm also holding AI16 Jutsu token. Yeah.
By the way,
Then
so
can I call-
you were
From IQ 6900.
Yeah. Oh, I'm. Can I call me as a AI16 DAO's member, or is there any way to participate the AI16 DAO?
Oh, absolutely. So like Eliza OS is our framework. The DAO is our token, and is also like is really tasked with making sure that our token continues to accrue value. But is also any developer who contributes to the GitHub repo will be receiving tokens. We're working on that it's called continuous retroactive funding, and there's a lot of ways to participate. And I try to obviously holding the token is part of it, but also just like building anything, participating in the community, participating in the work groups. We have a lot of different like research and stuff we're doing. And I know that you have your own like technology and stuff, and like any way we integrate that, I'm really trying to take the attention that's on us and bring that back onto our whole ecosystem. And it's not so much about holding the token as much as participating in the community. I think that's what that's what I really value. So, and I see that I know you're doing that and stuff. So I really appreciate that. And then just like any way we can work together, we totally should. And if you have any ideas, like we're down to support that and make sure accelerate it for sure. I really appreciate the stuff you've been working on and coming to our like what did you get done this week stuff, and just I think we're all part of a larger thing happening. So yeah, anything we can do, just let me know.
Okay, thank you for answering me.
What would be the best way for us to reach you in general? To Twitter replies or DMs?
I mean, I have like an intern. I'm trying to get through all my reply. Every day I reply, and then the next day I wake up and there's more than the last day. It's like, oh my God. So I really try my best to get through to everybody, but it does take me a few days to like get through, especially doing this tour. It's been pretty hard. I'll probably spend a few days just at home, just furiously replying to all my Telegram.
Right.
Definitely, you can email me. You can
Or
TG
you also
me.
do live coding pretty much all day, day in, day out. So maybe that's a good way to reach you as well.
When I'm home, I'm gonna do more office hours and just like I'm just hanging out and stream. People come in, ask questions. It's a really good, real quick way to kind of get through stuff.
That's good to know. 바로 옆에 분께 그럼 마이크 잠깐 드리겠습니다.
Hello, I'm developer at PUBG. And isn't it kind of hot in here? Is it just me?
It's a little hot.
It's a little hot. Okay. So I think AI agents have been a fresh take to the community. We've been getting insights from KOLs, insiders, cabals, but AI agents could provide a way to give us unbiased insights to the market, etc. But my question is, how do we know that outputs from AI agents are not modified or tempered? I mean, whoever has the access to the Twitter API of the AI agent's account can just say whatever they want and say, oh, it's AI XBT said this, or DGen Spartan AI said XYZ coin is good. So do you agree with that issue? And do you think there's any way for us to generate a proof that it's actually generated from an LLM?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
my hot take is that I'd say like, I think as long as the functionality is real, a little bit of LARP doesn't matter. But I also like really don't like LARPing myself. Like, we really try to make everything legit when we can.
Yeah.
So the big thing here is going to be TE and remote attestation. I think that's TE is trusted execution environment. We run the agent inside of this. And then it can actually remotely attest that it generated that and then posted it. And so you will have to see that infrastructure, but you could definitely do a thing of saying, well, I see this tweet, but I don't see an attestation for it. So it's probably a human posting it. I think that we'll see a lot more infrastructure for this if it becomes a problem. I think where it could become a problem is when people start trusting them for unbiased insights or for like managing their money or stuff like that, where you really want to know like, okay, it's not just a human LARPer. Like they could totally rug me if it is. And I think there'll be a lot of value in that. And that's kind of why we're trying to build this all inside the TE by default.
So TE is I'm not very informed in TE. So
okay.
TE is something that could possibly fix it?
Our friend from the Fala team will probably talk more about that. You want to answer? Sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think the key point is when you run an AI agent, how can you trust the AI agent, right? When you want people send money to the AI agent and manage funds, I think the first thing is you need to trust the AI agent and you need to trust the code. You need to have a way to verify the code and verify the execution of the AI agent. And like a smart contract. But for now, there is no way you can actually introduce a way to verify it like a smart contract for the AI agent. I think that's why TE plays out.
Yeah. So a TE is a trust execution environment. There's actually a part of your like most chips, like Intel chips and other chips, like Samsung has this on their mobiles too, and it has an area of the chip where it can do confidential computing, and even if I could like go in and like scan the memory, I'm not able to actually see what's there. So it's able to truly run on its own without basically being tamper-proof. There are some vectors of attack, but they're pretty freaking complicated. And if you're running it on a trusted cloud like AWS or something like that, it would be pretty much unattackable. I'm sure there's with some caveats, but very, very hard ones. And then what it does, it writes the thing called a remote attestation, where it can actually take from that internally, write out a signed message that says, I can attest that this happened inside of the TEE and like it's legit. It can generate its own private key inside that nobody has access to, and then confirm that it has generated that private key. So as long as and the TEE itself is verifiable, so like it can only generate those like attestations, and you can verify them with like the public key of that, and say, okay, cool. Well, this would only work if it was inside a TEE, not a simulator or anything else would work. So that's kind of the idea. Is it's basically an enclave to put the code that runs securely in, and that's why we're like making this a very base part of what we're doing. Because it's like obviously I think most agents are going to want to run inside of one of these. Yes, and thanks to the Fala team, and they're actually like Josh was a maintainer on our project, and that's like I think a really good win-win collaboration that we've had.
Yeah, thank you. So you just think about the T is a trust container, or a virtual machine. So the ELIZA will actually run inside the TE. And you will have a T proof, and you just think about it like a ZK proof. So you do some computation. Here is the AI agent, right? And you can prove the computation to other people. That you actually do the exact computation, and this.
Exactly, it actually does run a Docker container.
Yeah, we can run the Docker container. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hardware level, so it's like only certain chips support it, but the vast majority of servers and even now like NVIDIA chips support it. So you can actually run inference and stuff inside of a TE as well. I think you guys just published a paper that was like saying for like AI inference, it's like a 7% performance overhead hit. Yeah. It's like not bad. It's pretty usable.
It's not bad. Yeah. The large language model, even the large language model. So that means you actually not only can run the AI agent itself inside TE, but also the large language model. Yep. That means you can run because NVIDIA just have the GPU TE. So we just support that you just put the large language model alongside with the agent together. So to decrease to have a better performance.
Yep. And there's some good examples of this, like the Pet Rock, like Teehee. There's AI Pool, which is running in a T to actually do this like kind of pump fun style mint, sort of pump fun, but like minting on Twitter. And then the Spore.fun is like the kind of other version of that.
Yeah. Thank you for your note. I think we'll have a question from this side as well.
Hi, Shaw. This is Mike from Orca, Dex on Solana.
Great.
Thanks for coming to Korea, first of all. I guess like my biggest question is I really like the comparison between the LLM being the head and like ELIZA being the body. And I think from a DeFi protocol, we're in this taking the approach of whether we should be like the finger or the toe. Like, should we be improving ELIZA framework and contributing directly there, or do you think we should also be improving, creating like our own like framework so that could be implemented back into ELIZA? What do you think the right approach should be for DeFi?
So we actually have like a collab with some of the Orca team building a DeFi agent, where I think that there's kind of two parts. Like I know some of your team had built a bot that automatically manages like your pools and stuff. I think that's really, really compelling. But it still had like too high a barrier to entry for a lot of developers. And that's where we kind of are connecting that with ELIZA, where this can be the interface for users to then go and interact with those pools without even really having to know how they work. Exactly. Just like press button, make money. If it starts to do things like you're at risk of impermanent loss or the tokens start to diverge, it can automatically pull them out, rearrange them. So I think that definitely I would say like work on the bot on your side, and then let's do I know that there's a plugin in development, but generally for DeFi, I think DeFi is the killer app of agents over the next few months. I think there's a lot of people like who are doing great DeFi products, but it's pretty hard to like go find users with that who understand how it all works. A lot of agent devs even are pretty sketchy and could be making a lot of money by pooling their tokens right now, and they just aren't. And so that's why I think for us it's like a very big priority to kind of kickstart that angle of it. We're definitely making some investments and partnerships and stuff to work with companies who are doing that, tapping like Orca, Meteora, these things, to enable just to lower the barrier to entry for many more people, especially like Solana has a lot of new users, a lot of people who are coming in and just like they don't really know that you can make money other than trading, and we want to really like open that up. And I think this is going to just allow a lot more money to get locked into the network and start earning people like continuous income. I think that's huge.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so definitely please, any way we want to partner, like yeah, absolutely.
다음 앞으로 혹시 마이크 주시겠어요? 감사합니다.
Hi, I'm wearing hood.
Yeah, I got the white one.
Yeah.
You got the black one. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm very interested in DGen AI, but it's challenging to gather information due to the lack of an official community. So, could you provide details about the date, the launch timeline, and especially the frequency of buybacks? Additionally, I'd love to hear about any future plan. This is the first question. And second question is, will Ariza go beyond Solana? Ariza framework itself looks chain agnostic, so I'm very 궁금해요.
Is it agnostic? Is the question? Yeah. So I mean, the framework itself, Asian frameworks generally they don't run on chain, so that means they're like inherently agnostic. We have plugins for every freaking chain. I mean, like Sui, Ton, Internet Computer, Starkware, all the like esoteric ones, plus all the EVM ecosystem, plus Solana, obviously. And so I think a lot of the contributions coming in are integrations with every chain, and it allows us to work with all the L1s and L2s just very seamlessly. So yeah, you can launch on Base, you can launch on literally any chain you want, and your agent should be able to have a wallet and interact and call the basic actions there. And we're working now on for V2. One of the big pillars is a unified wallet abstraction, so that the agent just sees one wallet. It has things like swap, lend, pool, I don't know, whatever, like the kind of different actions that we're going to see. And then it doesn't really matter what chain it's on. It can just be like, okay, cool, this is on that chain, this is on that chain. And then if you're like, hey, go swap a token, well, it can kind of be intelligently guessing. And if it's unable to figure it out exactly which network you want to use or anything, it can go ask you. And so you can enable whichever networks you want. And then on DGen AI, so the buybacks are still kind of manual. We want to automate that, but basically we get a certain amount of transaction fees from the trading of the token. We've been using that to buy back DGen AI. We've bought 4% of the supply so far, a little bit over now of the supply. It's not automated, so it's not regular. It's kind of just happening whenever it happens. But you can continue. It's just going to keep on, more. We're just basically amassing more into the treasury. Now I think the DAO is one of the top holders now. And maybe the top holder, but definitely in the top 10. And I think you can expect more of that. We're working on a few things. Like we've been working on the autonomous trading inside of like a closed social graph, like Telegram and Discord, and working on the research. But we're also doing the research on the open social graph, like Twitter, where it's just kind of everybody. So the goal is that DGen Spartan's using the same trust mechanic as our autonomous investor stuff, but he's doing it more on Twitter Signal, following KOLs. It's being worked on. It's a pretty hard problem, so it's like it'll launch when it launches. But we have a team that's just working on that. The DGen Spartan team is like its own team. The AI Mark team is its own team, and then they kind of are exchanging information. It's all within our group, but because we're like a DAO, we have to kind of split it up into teams that each have their own like leadership. Yeah, it's definitely coming. He's got his own wallet. You can ask him what's in his wallet. But making it so that you can actually go and swap and make money is kind of the next thing. I think that in terms of like given that he doesn't have I think he's probably got like $500,000 in his wallet or something like that, which is a lot, but it's not a lot to make a ton of money off of necessarily. I think that a lot of he's kind of our flagship. We're adding him to all the networks. We're giving him a lot more functionality outside of just trading. And I think that the overall value of the agent as like our flagship agent, I think is not just going to be reflected in how much money he makes, but generally in like what he represents and like all the other stuff happening. There's going to be a lot of other stuff like listings and all that kind of thing is obviously happening. So yeah, it's kind of all happening at once. Yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah.
So we will have one more question for the Q&A session, and we will have a network session until Shaw is free, I guess. Yeah, we have all day for you. So
Cool.
We will have one more question officially.
Can I have an old-fashioned question?
앞에 드리겠습니다.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I'm a university professor, so I'm a paper writing, old-fashioned research fellow, and I have written up one recent paper about legal query RAG, and then also sentiment-based investment agent, things like that. And I'm also trying to build user-owned AI, what I call my AI, and then have this my AI agent representing a person behind the agent and making trade among the AI agents, right? So we are building Web3 cloud because if you want to do it on everything on chain, it is very expensive. And like your Steph was talking about, if you try to give a privacy using T, which is very expensive, right? And then basically we are building cost-effective solutions for that. So my question here is a complex question wouldn't help here. So are you still would like to collaborate with the old-fashioned university?
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely, and definitely take my info. We're working on a couple of papers. Like some of them are kind of more informational comparison framework, more light white paper stuff. But we're working on the Marketplace of Trust paper is like a pretty serious paper that we're trying to, push out and as into and get published in the whole thing. And really like we have the engineering problem solved of like, devs can just build a system, but we really want to do the research, analyze all the possible attack vectors. There's a lot of factors that we kind of need to optimize. Like, we're doing a paper trading and using that as our trust model. It's like a collective kind of collective intelligence project. And like, how much do we actually trade? Like, how do we weight that? There's a lot of open questions that we're sort of working on optimizing. And then once we actually take the signal and our agent is making trades, we want to make sure he doesn't run out of money in the worst case. And how do we actually, like, how much should we invest is a big question that we're still trying to figure out. We're doing very small amounts right now just to kind of run the system, but we'd obviously like to optimize our investments to optimize profit. And so I think there's a lot of open questions around that. We're also, like, since we're doing collective intelligence, extracting a lot of information from conversation. And so, like, making sure that's accurate, publishing data sets, that's like all a big interest. So, yeah.
Since we are building next generation internet, which is Web3, right? Giving ownership to the users, right? So it takes a lot of effort and collaboration. So I would like to have, you and I can make some kind of a partnership and then do it together.
Yeah, totally. And I can connect you to our team that's like leading this.
Welcome to Korea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to Korea for sure. Please.